Hello everybody, welcome back, and I'm here with one of my personal tanks today. This is my 7-foot Arowana tank, and I need to change the lid. This has glass sliders on it, and this guy's favourite pastime is to jump and whack the lid. And this morning he did it, and it was really, really loud, and I've just had enough now, so I really need to change the lid before he gets too big. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. And just check in with Agatha while we're here. She likes to hide under the foam, absolutely typical, under the filter floss that's protecting the base from the rocks. But no, the Monstera Adansonii, this, whatever this plant is over on the right here, I can't remember what it's called, the little carnivorous plant that I put in there, all doing really, really well actually. They're growing really nicely. That pothos in the back there, the variegated one, isn't doing so well. But no, this has been really good. So I'm going to basically take the glass sliders off and then make some alterations to the hood that goes around the top of the tank and hides all of the equipment. So first I'm going to have to slightly edit that, because I actually took the back panel off to make room for wires and things, because the way it was originally stuck on was in the wrong position. So I've got my handy screwdriver, and I'm just going to stick that panel on back where it was, in a different position, a little bit lower, so that there's no gaps, and making sure that the cutouts are in line with where my pipes need to go. So we're just gonna screw that in, and then yeah, basically we're going to be creating almost like a reverse trampoline. So I needed the frame to go all the way around the outside. It wouldn't have worked if I hadn't put this panel on, because there would have been a gap down the back. And yeah, the logic here is I don't want to become like everybody else. You see it so much with Arowanas. And I think a lot of the risk is that they jump, and you need something that bounces back. So we've gone with a strong pond net, because the logic is if it's strong enough to keep a koi in, it's going to work better than all of these other fish keepers ideas with the polycarbonate and glass and all that kind of thing. As well as them jumping, fair enough if they don't actually bust through the lid. If it's something solid, they're going to hurt themselves, especially when they get big. They're very, very powerful animals. So like we've seen with other fish keepers, they haven't necessarily got out of the tank. They've actually like broken their neck, they've bust their swim bladder, they've, done something to their head, and they're not quite right. And yeah, you just see it so often. So the logic here is, if this can keep a 3-foot koi in a pond, and if this can keep a big old heron out as well from eating extremely valuable koi, this is basically what we're going to go with. So it's just a very, very strong net, heavy duty net, and then I'm using a big staple gun, big strong one, and just basically going in and doing a good thick layer of staples all the way up, like a double layer, tapping them in as I go as well, any ones that are sticking out, and just basically making sure that that bond is really, really secure, and that even if a few of them maybe break, or if it tears, that there's enough security in the whole build that the Arowana can't snap it and break through. So the piece I had was a little bit short, and I decided to have one weak point instead of two. So I made it short on one side, and then basically what I did is I just attached another piece with a really long overlap on that bit, so that it's basically impossible for him to get through. And then I'm probably also going to then secure that with some cable ties. So just want to make sure I'm really, really thorough, make sure all the staples are in thoroughly. And yeah, we're good to go. So next up, I had to remove all of the rubbish off the top of the tank that's been hiding, and take off all the glass. So it's quite useful to have bits of glass around, actually. I don't know what I'll do with these, but these are some quite good chunks. So I've got all my thermostats, the lights and everything up here. All needs to just move around a little bit. And then just needed to lift it back up. So it is quite heavy actually. There's a very, very solid piece of wood in the middle, so do need to be a little bit careful just lifting it. And then yeah, I noticed it is now sitting a good inch higher, and it doesn't quite fit around the edge of the tank because some of the staples are sticking out, and I didn't want to push it too far down in case it scratches it or cracks it with the little bits of metal sticking out. So I just set it, made sure it was level. I'll have to work out what I'm going to do with that gap. Maybe I'll put something in there. And yeah, I just needed to work out how I was going to pop the lights because they were originally sat on the glass. So I needed to work out how to do that. So I just had an old plank of wood and I just slid them onto that. And here we go. So yeah, I have designed it to have a little bit of give to it because, you know, you want a little bit of cushioning if he whacks up against it with his full force. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how that looks actually. It looks very smart and it's nice because nothing can build up. And there is just a little bit of it showing across the front here, which I might tuck in, but to be honest, this tank just looks a bit gross at the moment. So I need to clean this up, do a water change. There we are, so I got my siphon going. The glass looks a lot better now. I just wish I had slightly longer arms, to be honest. Just missed a couple of gaps at the back. You have sand on your head. But no, he's not very happy with me doing things around the tank. He tends to circle at one end when he's a bit stressed. And hopefully I can't see this crisscross pattern once the water is moving. That's a little bit annoying. Might just maybe be the one downside. But no, so I siphon everything out using my garden hose. Watch my previous video on how I do water changes on this tank to see how I'm doing all of this shenanigans with the hose. And yeah, I was trying to blast some of the sand out of that corner because there's a really deep pile there and obviously a bald spot. But it didn't really go to plan. And it was actually quite encouraging because as I was filling this back up and actually as I was draining it, I had to keep adjusting the hood because it was so heavy that it was squeezing my hose. I'm always finding things in my tanks, but it's so typical that there's a staple in here. I'm just going to be staring at all night now. And yeah, so once the tank was filled back up, got the sump back going again, made sure all the equipment was running. What I did was I actually popped the fogger from Agatha's tank up on here. So I haven't really been using it too much because of the aforementioned humidity issues. With turtles because they need quite low humidity, but I figured it will maybe deter him further from jumping. I don't know how much this is going to affect things like drop eye. Jardinis aren't really prone to drop eye as much, and I do obviously feed him from above life crickets and things like that. But no, I'm pretty pleased with how this looks, and certainly during the day, or if he's being a bit of a pain, I'll turn the fogger on. I do have my Florida Gar in here now as well. So his name's Gary, because he's got one eye. So Gary with an eye, and he's a Gar with one eye. So he actually fits in here really, really well. He was in the pond and then he was in the 5 foot after my leporinus took one of his eyes off. And yeah, he just wasn't coping in the 5 foot with these guys. But yeah, no, they all get on really well. The Giardini is very chill with tank mates, to be honest. I've been very lucky with him. And so this is what it's looking like at the top now. Actually, with the fogger on, it does look quite cool. It looks a lot smarter, and yeah, no food or anything can build up on the top here because it will just fall through, so it's a little bit more hygienic, I suppose. There's no like moisture or humidity building up. I did pop a couple of the lilies out of Agatha's tank in here as well to add a little bit of interest. And yeah, no, I'm very pleased with how this has turned out. Hopefully it's going to prevent any major issues. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Stay tuned for more. I've got plenty planned coming up in the next week or so. And hopefully I'll be able to keep you updated on how this is working out for the Arowana. And yeah, fingers crossed that this works and his fate is a little bit better than other Arowanas, especially on YouTube and things like that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.